Hey guys, it's Richard, and this afternoon about 4 o'clock GMT, Mod Timbo posted on the forum saying that they'd actually hotfixed the new Ascension dungeon drops. A lot of people really ranted about them because they said the bosses, they cost so much to access, and the basic sort of minions, I suppose you could call them, themselves, really didn't have very good drops whatsoever. And so what Mod Timbo has done, he's seen that feedback and he's changed it within 24 hours of the release of the update, which I think is absolutely brilliant. They acknowledged it yesterday actually, so the fact that they've actually taken on player feedback and they've changed it, it's almost a sort of a new for Jagex. It's very rare that they do that. And so what he said, that they've removed some of the worthless drops, such as the headless arrows, combination runes and arrowheads, which I don't know why they were there. I expect it was because it's a ranged dungeon, but in their place they've added things like favorable drops such as herbs, noted resources and high alchemy favorable items, is what he said here. So a huge change. I killed them for about an hour, which is the footage you're seeing in the background right now, using overloads and prayer renewals, so you can get an idea of what sort of speed kills I was getting. And I'll do a price check at the end of the video. But personally I found that the herbs are actually pretty rare. They don't seem to drop very frequently. I think in the whole time I got one drop, but it was actually a noted drop of 37 toad flax, which is really good. Resources, I think from what I could tell it was mostly just bars. The occasional runes, but things like that. And then high alchemy favourites, what they basically meant was rune items and a few addy items, which added up quite nicely. Little heads up though, I actually took a war tortoise, and well, two things actually, is that you can't put some of the items in, such as rune legs, and also that my war tortoise died while I was there, which created a bit of a panic, because they actually, I can't actually remember how you turn it off. I think there is a way to make your familiar go passive, but basically he attacked the enemies, so then the enemies attacked my war tortoise, and the war tortoise then died and lost all my stuff. But that's just how it is, I guess. Also, one final note, if you're killing these little minions, I killed the teleporting ones while I was using Soul Split and the ranged version of Turmoil, which is that Torment? I can't actually remember. I probably got that completely wrong, but oh well. I seem to be getting pretty quick kills, but I also never needed any food, which is really convenient. So just take prayer renewals, overloads, and prayer potions, and you'll be absolutely fine. But you might want to bring some other things. Now, one other thing they've actually added is they've added charms. Something that I'm really surprised that they didn't have charms in the first place. The ones that I was killing, the Gladdy ones, the teleporting ones, they seem to drop crimson charms pretty often. So I think it was about half the time they were dropping crimson charms. So really good for the crimson charm hunting. And the bosses, although I didn't kill the bosses myself because I don't have 95 Slayer sadly, but they drop charms 6 at a time. So I don't know what charms they do drop, but they drop 6 at a time, which is really good. A nice change. So I think in general this is all going to become a lot more worthwhile to go there. So if you got it as a Slayer task, don't be put off. Although maybe the Slayer XP isn't that brilliant. I had to get a range level while I was there though. The Slayer XP is not the best in the world from what I've heard. I didn't actually count it or anything. Well, I didn't actually have a Slayer task, so I have no way of knowing. But on the whole, I still think that it's actually quite a lot of fun. Sometimes I found the way they stunned you was quite frustrating, and the mechanic for that was a bit annoying. But on the whole, it's pretty good. It's pretty good loot. And I'm actually now going to really quickly switch to RuneScape and show you what loot I did get. Okay, so I'm in game now, and I've got my full inventory of items here. As you can see, pretty reasonable stack of items here. Bear in mind, this was about an hour worth of hunting. So before we actually do the price check, blue charms, I only got 3, but I also got 42 crimsons. There are times I think I started to miss them, but oh well, that's just me being distracted from the game, I guess. Also, the Ascension shards, I didn't bother picking up the fragments, and I also, after a while, I kept on forgetting to pick up the shards. So you probably would get more than the number of shards that I've got here, because I think I actually banked some halfway through, so ignore that value, that's pretty misrepresentative. But let's price check the things, and yeah, once again, once I add these in, bear in mind you will get a little bit more. But on the whole, I'm pretty happy with how much I got for probably what was around an hour, maybe a little bit less than an hour worth of killing these things. But on the whole, so what have we got so far? We've got, it's adding up quite nicely. And they also, the coin drops, I would recommend taking the coin drops because it's quite a lot. They do seem to drop quite a fair amount at a time. As you can see, I've got 45k in total. They seem to quite often drop 2k. So there you go, 3/4 of a mil. For an hour worth of just a sort of what a lot of people would just sort of call a mid-level enemy. That's not bad really. That's not, perhaps not quite as good as you get from things like automatons, but that's still a pretty good amount of loot. So I would recommend killing those now. A lot of people haven't. One thing that I didn't get in the hour is I didn't get any of the new keys. So I've actually been really unlucky. I've killed them for probably getting on for 3 or 4 hours now, and I've only had 2 keys. I don't know if I've just been unlucky or whether that's just what's to be expected. So factor that in, you might get keys, and that's a little bit extra money. But there you go, so that's a good idea. So on the whole, really good that they've added new drops. Really nice of Jagex to take on player feedback, and I'm really glad that they've actually been doing this, and hopefully they'll do more things like this in the future. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next video.